It's me, Niall Mackay, your host of a Vietnam podcast. I'm going to host an episode all by myself, and I'm a little bit scared to do that. I'm going to share with you my 7 top places to go in Saigon for craft beer. An OG legend. If you're going to get food, definitely get the chicken wings, but they are really spicy. I think it is the best tasting beer. It is Western priced. I think they are catering to that market, which can afford that price. Now, number 6 is not a craft beer bar at all, but it sells their own beer. They don't give you free water, which to me is immoral and insane to be serving beer so strong and not offer free water to your customers. Hey Vietnam podcasters, it's me, Niall Mackay, your host of a Vietnam podcast. I'm going to do something today that I don't think I've ever done before on a Vietnam podcast. I'm going to host an episode all by myself, and I'm a little bit scared to do that. Normally I'm always interviewing someone else and sharing stories of people connected to Vietnam, and for this episode and a few more episodes I decided to share more of my story as well. If you're a regular listener, you'll probably know a little bit about me, but I wanted to go into a bit more detail about what there is to do here in Saigon. Now, lots of people think of Vietnam as rice paddies, lanterns, water buffaloes, and that is true. They are out there, but I live in Saigon. It's a big city, just like any other city. There's rich people, there's poor people, there's middle class people, there's public transport, there's rivers, there's buildings, there's nightclubs, there's cafes, there's bars, and there's beer. I've lived here now for 8 years. I came in 2015 just for a vacation, fell in love with the place, came back, and I'll probably be here for over a decade at least. Saigon is like most other big cities in the world. There's lots of things to do outside of water buffaloes and rice paddies. And if you are a tourist and that's what you're coming here for, enjoy it. It is beautiful and it is stunning. But I want to talk about Saigon, and in a series of podcasts, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite things to do in Saigon. If you live here, you might know them already. You might completely disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. You can tell me. And if you're thinking of coming to Vietnam, hopefully you can put these on your list and you can visit them. If you do disagree with me or you have your own ideas, then please send me a message. You can go to the show notes and you'll be able to find the link there, and I'll feature on a future episode, and I may even visit it myself as well. Now today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite things in the world, which I don't think makes me sound very good, but one of my favourite things has been for a long time craft beer. I first drank craft beer when I lived in Australia. I think that was when I was first introduced to it with Little Creatures and Coopers. Then I moved to Wellington, where craft beer exploded when I was there, and in a short time a whole bunch of breweries and bars opened up. And then Saigon was really similar. When we got here in 2015, the only craft beer that I could really find, and I know it's contentious and craft beer people will tell you who was first and whatnot, but when we first arrived in 2015, the only craft beer bar that we knew of was Pasteur Street Brewing Company. They had one bar on Pasteur Street. It was cool, it was kitsch, and they had some really good beers as well. The first beer I ever tried after I landed was Ba Ba Ba, and I remember I think it cost 12,000 dong a can, and I don't know how, but 8 years later it's only like 13,000 dong a can. Inflation doesn't seem to work the same here in Vietnam, but Ba 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 was pretty bad, and that's a really cheesy joke, I know. I've never used that one before, but I'm sorry. I just thought that it's bad, but it's a good one. So we went to Pasteur Street. They still had the Jasmine IPA on back then, the passion fruit. These are all staples, and we absolutely loved it. Real nice flavours of Vietnam. My wife and I went back to Wellington, drank more craft beer from Wellington, and as I mentioned, we came back to Vietnam for just 6 weeks, and we've been here 8 years later. In those first couple of years, it was really similar to Wellington. There was a massive explosion of new craft beer bars. It seemed like it was going to be limitless. It was going to go on forever. And then I feel, and COVID probably played a big part in this, but I feel like then it plateaued and we've not seen a whole bunch of new bars in the last few years, but that's all right. I think we have enough for now. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you my 7 top places to go in Saigon for craft beer. Some of them you might not call them tap rooms. Some of them aren't craft beer bars, but they sell craft beer. And as I said, this is just my opinion. So if you think of any other ones, if you have any other ideas, then send me a message. Let me know. I want to hear from you what you think as well. It's not just all about me. And this is in no particular order. It's just the bars that I would advise you to go to that I like. So the first one I want to talk about is maybe one of the first tap rooms in Saigon, as far as I'm aware. Again, you can correct me on this. I think it's one of the OG craft beer bars in Saigon. I think they just had I was at their 10-year birthday just about 6 months ago. So I think they're a little bit older than Pasteur Street, and they sell a wide selection of craft beers, and it's just a really cool atmosphere. And that is Malt on Mac Boy. I'm not going to tell you all the street names of where they all are. I'll put links to them in the show notes so you can find them. If you don't know where they are, basically it's right in the middle of D1, right behind the Viet Combank Tower and right near Win Hui Walking Street. And I know my pronunciation is really bad. But Malt is definitely just an OG legend. It hasn't changed location. It does have a second location in D7, so that's called Malt South, and I would check that out as well. It's the same vibe, a little bit different, bigger, more of a family atmosphere, I would say. Anytime I go, there's like families and kids there, things like that. It's got a more of a like a breakout room upstairs. Not a breakout room, what do you call it? Like a meeting room, family room, whatever you want to call it, upstairs. I think they got kids' toys. If a bar has kids' toys, it's more of a family bar, right? The one in D1, though, does not have kids' toys. It's small, it's got a low ceiling, it's got some cool artwork, and anyone I take there absolutely loves it. The people who loved it the most were my mum and dad. They came and visited quite a few years ago, and they absolutely loved what most people do, the shuffleboard table. Now, there's quite a lot of them not quite a lot, but there's a few different places have shuffleboards. But I think that was the first place, and it was a bit of a novelty if you're not from North America or the States like I am. I'd never played it before. It's super fun. It's good to do with a group. It's good to do with friends as well. So check out Malt. That is definitely one of my favorites. It's a really cool place. They even give you water now, which I used to be a big bone of contention, but you still have to pay for it. There's this weird thing in Vietnam where some bars will give you free water because it's like a human right and kind of morally the right thing to do if you're serving alcohol. But then there's other bars that for some reason you have to pay for water, even though you're paying quite a lot for the craft beer. As people listening to this, if you're listening to this from the UK or the US, I mean, you just know if you sell alcohol, you get water. They go hand in hand. And I know in the UK, you legally have to provide water if you're serving alcohol. Here in Vietnam, it's a little bit different. It goes different places. Everyone has their own kind of rules. But in Malt, they now sell it to you for a cheap price, so at least that's better. One of my favorite beers to get is Fuzzy Logic Pale Ale. They don't have a tap room of their own, and they kind of shrunk a little bit, I think, with COVID. Obviously, it affected everybody. I actually thought they might disappear completely, but they're still out there. And Malt is one of the few places that you can find on draft a Fuzzy Logic Pale Ale. So that would be my recommendation, a really good Vietnamese craft beer. It's just a good standard pale ale, so I love it. If you're going to get food, definitely get the chicken wings, but they are really spicy. Be careful. And another one I would recommend is a Parmesan and artichoke dip. That is delicious too. Next on my list is Mixtape Drinks by Chad Mitchell. Mixtape Drinks have been about for a few years now. They do a really good peaches and cream. They made their own green tea seltzer called A Party that came out a few years ago. They sponsored one of our events with 7 Million Bikes podcast, which was awesome. And that's become really, really popular. They opened up a pop-up store just in Luzine and Tao Dien, which was really cool branding, like bright neon pink. And that place was pretty popular from what I could see. And then sadly, it was only a pop-up, so it wasn't there forever. But thankfully, Chad and his team have now opened up their own craft beer bar, their own tap room, right in the heart of District 1. I can't remember the name of the street exactly, but it's just off Calmet. It's right in the middle of D1 near Bintan Market. So you know how to use Google. If you're listening to a podcast, you know how to use Google Maps. So look it up on Google Maps. Go check it out. Big pink branding. And my recommendation would be the Peaches and Cream Pale Ale. And also try the Party. But they've got a whole massive selection of different beers. And everything's like a music theme. Chad's into his music. So Peaches and Cream is music related. The logo is old tape. It's called Mixtape, obviously. And I did win free beer for a year there. That is not why I'm mentioning them. I might actually go there today though for my free beer. And when I did, I won it at a raffle on their opening night. Couldn't believe it when they called my name out. I was like, yes, free beer for a year. All my friends back home are like, oh my God, how much beer do you get to drink? It's not like that. It's one beer every day for a year. I've had it for about 6 months now. I've maybe used it about 10 times. But still an awesome prize. So thanks, Chad, for the free beer for a year. Number 3 on my list is right round the corner from Mixtape. So if you want to hit up a couple of bars, then I would add this to your list. And that's Brick and Barrel by James Jalokia and Tyler Maurice Coe. Is that how you say your name? I'm sorry, Tyler. I should know that. When you live in Saigon, you see a lot of people's names written down. You very rarely say them out loud. And most people call me Niall Mackay and it's Niall Mackay. So I'm sorry, Tyler. Brick and Barrel is an awesome spot. It's kind of outdoorsy. It's got big picnic tables. It's more famous for its pizza and its chicken sandwiches and its burgers. Really, really good food. They have an extensive craft beer menu. Not only craft beer, they have other beers as well. But you can get on there like Heart of Darkness, which we're going to talk about. Seven Bridges, what we're going to talk about. And as I mentioned, one of my favorites is the Fuzzy Logic Pale Ale, which as I mentioned, you can't get that on draft in too many places. So normally if I'm going to go to Fuzzy Logic, I'm going to get a pizza and a pale ale. And they do the El Diablo pizza, which James has labeled Vietnam's spiciest pizza. And I can confirm it. It's spicy. So enjoy that if you go, and say hello to the team there as well. And Ollie, who used to work at Outcast, has just started as the manager there, so I'm sure he's going to do great things with it. Check it out. Number 4 on my list, as I mentioned already, is Pasteur Street Brewing Company, which is now called Pasteur Street Craft Beer. They've rebranded recently. They've redone all the tap rooms. I haven't been in a little while, but I will go back soon. My favorite beer there is the Pomelo IPA, so I would recommend checking that out if you like IPAs. If you like something a little less strong, a little refreshing, then I would check out the Passion Fruit Wheat Beer. That's been a staple on their menu since the beginning. And their flagship beer, the Jasmine IPA, is always a go-to beer as well. The problem with my favorite beer is it's a double IPA. Have you ever had this problem as well? I have this problem all the time that the tastiest, nicest beer is the double IPA, which is like 7.8% or 8.7%, something crazy. You can only drink like one beer and you're already drunk. So it's not something that you can have a big night on, although maybe I've had one or two, but enjoy it, have one, have a small one, then get into the Jasmines, get into the wheat beer, and they also do really good food as well. Unfortunately, the original tap room is now closed. So the original tap room was down at Hem on Pasteur Street. They still have a tap room in the same location-ish, but the actual original tap room is now gone, unfortunately, but I can see why. But that was a really cool spot. Food there, really good. Get the Nashville chicken. The Nashville hot chicken is always really good with a Jasmine or a double IPA. Number 5 on the list is Heart of Darkness. They're probably one of the most well-known craft breweries in Saigon. They do a lot of export to overseas and they make really, really delicious beer. 2 big standouts there are the Dream Alone Pale Ale and the Cuts Insane IPA. And again, the Cuts Insane is like 7.7%, I think. You can't have a big night on them unless your name is Sandler Ernst, which shout out to Sandy. We had a night out in Heart of Darkness. Sandy sunk about 5 pints of Cuts Insane. I don't think he knew that they were so strong, but maybe he did. And it was pretty funny seeing the aftermath of that. So Sandy, come back. We'll go get some Cuts Insane. Again, really delicious beer, but really strong. So you can't drink too many of them. Dream Alone Pale Ale is also pretty strong. So you can't drink too many of them either, but it's really delicious. And they have seasonal rotational beers. So they're always changing their menu, but they do have some flagship ones. So it's always just really tasty. Like their beer is just really, really good. I think it is the best tasting beer in Saigon. And again, it's just my opinion. Don't hate me. If you want to message me and tell me what you think, then that's fine. I think it might be the most flavorful, but it is the most expensive because it's so good. And I think they are catering to that market, which can afford that price. I don't go too often because it is quite expensive. And the other big downfall, as I've mentioned, the last time I was there anyway, and I don't think it's changed, they don't give you free water, which to me is immoral and insane to be serving beer so strong and not offer free water to your customers. So Heart of Darkness, you get the best tasting beers in my opinion, but serve some free water. It's not hard. Now, number 6 is not a craft beer bar at all, but it sells their own beer, and I go there quite often, and it's Two Guys Belgian Fries. They got a location just near me in Tan My Loy. Again, butchering the pronunciation, but it's a really nice spot right on the canal, and they have a blonde and a dark. That's it. I don't know who makes them. Someone must contract brew for them. I'm not 100% sure, but they're both really good beers. Nothing too fancy, but they're not too expensive, and it's nice to go there at sunset, especially for happy hour. Get a couple of beers, enjoy the canal that's right there, or the river as most people call it. It's not a river, it's a canal. But enjoy sunset at the canal. They do really good fries as well, because that's what they do, the Belgian fries. And they've just opened a new location right next door called Dos Chicos, which is like a Cuban-inspired place. And I also found out recently that Dos Chicos is Spanish for two guys. So that made sense why it was called Dos Chicos. I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't know. But I would go check out Two Guys if you can. It's quite out of the way. If you don't live here and you're a tourist, I wouldn't say go massively out of your way just to go to Two Guys. But if you do live in Tao Dien or Anfu region, go check it out one day, get a couple of beers, say hello. Really nice guys there, and it's a nice little spot to enjoy sunset with a beer. And last one, number 7. I've kept it to last because it's number 7. It's 7 Bridges from Da Nang originally. So if you've been to Vietnam before or you know anything about Da Nang, it has 7 bridges, maybe more now, I'm not actually sure, but when they started, Da Nang has 7 bridges over the river, and it started up there. So I'd had it a couple of times when I'd been up there and really, really liked it. And then they finally came down to Saigon a couple of years ago. Yeah, I think a couple of years ago now, which was really exciting. New introduction. As I said, the beer scene had kind of plateaued. We hadn't had any new beers for a while. A couple of them had gone out of business. One of them, I think most people were quite glad that they'd gone out of business. They didn't make good beer. I won't say who it was, but if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But it was good to have 7 Bridges come down here. They make really, really good beers. It's a little bit disappointing because when they first came down, I feel like they had Da Nang prices, which were like a little bit lower. And you're like, oh, sweet, this is like a little bit cheaper. But the beer is so good, so that was nice. The last time I went, I noticed the prices have kind of crept up to Saigon prices, so they're not expensive, but they've just gone on par with basically how much craft beer costs in Saigon. But it is definitely worth it. Go check it out. When you do go, I would definitely recommend getting a pizza slice or a whole pizza if you're hungry. The pizza is, I think it's a New York style pizza, and it is really, really good. So check that out as well. And make sure you get the hot sauce. It comes with like a little dish of hot sauce, which is amazing. You can buy it as well. And so definitely get a pizza, get some hot sauce. They've got a location on, now I might be saying this wrong, Le Tanton. There's 2 streets in Saigon. I've lived here 8 years. One of them's Le Tanton and one of them's Le Tu Trong. And they're parallel to each other. They go in different directions, and I always forget which is which. Fuck. I think it's on Le Tanton. Go check it out. The other one, they've just opened a new one. I know this one on Hai Ba Trung Street. See, I'm terrible. A new one on Hai Ba Trung Street, which is right on the corner. Really good views. Nice to go there and just watch the craziness of Saigon and the crazy traffic. So check out 7 Bridges as well. They just make really good beer as well. Now, so that's everything that I've got. I've got 7. I've given you 7 places. There's obviously way more. If I haven't covered something that you really like, send me a message. Let me know. I can put it into another episode as well. If you disagree with what I've said, that's fine. We don't all have to agree on everything. We all should agree that water is a human right and that you should be given free water in a bar. Like, that's just standard. I'll argue that point until I'm dehydrated and I'm dead. But let me know what you think. It's always good to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning into this. It doesn't exist without you paying attention to what I'm saying. This is the first time I've ever done an episode by myself, so let me know how it was. Hopefully it gets better. And remember, the best thing to do is share this with somebody else if you liked it, or if you didn't like it, share it with someone else anyway. It really, really helps. Do all that stuff, rate, subscribe, follow, turn on the notifications. It really does help, and I hope you can tune in for future episodes and that you enjoy learning more about Vietnam if you're not from here and thinking of coming here, or you can learn a little bit more if you already live here. So thank you so much. My name is Niall Mackay. This is the Vietnam Podcast. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're like me, you may use your laptop at places where you have to use public Wi-Fi. This opens you up to digital snoopers. It's a massive problem. It can be your internet service provider, or you know who, looking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal trying to steal your bank passwords or credit card info, or even a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. These days, it is vital that you keep your data safe. NordVPN keeps all of these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites that are phishing for your data, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. And it's easy to use, even I could use it. I've actually been using NordVPN for years now here in Vietnam, and I'm excited to be an affiliate partner with them. I've used NordVPN to watch Netflix, BBC, Disney Plus with ease, and I also know that my information and data are safe from prying eyes, whoever they may be. Join now and you'll get 68% off and 3 months free when you go to my link, nordvpn.com/SMB. Just again, for those hard of hearing, nordvpn.com/SMB. The link is also in the show notes. I know nobody checks them out, but go check that out and you can get the link from wherever you're listening to this podcast. As an affiliate partner, it also means that I will get a small commission when you sign up, but at no extra cost to you. So not only will you be getting a great deal through 7 Million Bikes, you get a great VPN and you'll be supporting 7 Million Bikes podcast. Stay safe online and enjoy the shows you love. Any questions, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. And thanks for listening to this show. Cheers.